and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast, episode 521. My name is Adam Cook. This is episode 521, and I am joined by Chris Hyde. Hello, Chris.
Yo, yo, yo. Hello, mate. You all right?
Was all right till that greeting. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
What's wrong with yo, yo, yo?
Nothing's wrong with it, I'm sure.
You just said you were fine until that greeting, so there must be something. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let you introduce him until you talk to me and give me an answer.
But you don't have that power. I do.
I'll keep talking.
But I could just mute
No.
you on the stream.
Tell me what's wrong with yo, yo, yo.
Nothing. It's just unbecoming of a man of your
girth.
I was going to say nature, but nature or nurture. Hello, Lyle Carr. You right, Lyle?
Yo, yo, yo. How's it going, everybody?
Yes, no, do you know what? It's worse. That's worse.
Yes.
He's always worse than me.
Yeah. No, it's worse because he doesn't feel any shame when he does it, whereas I know that inside you're like, should I or shouldn't I be, hip and cool?
Is that because you don't think I am hip and cool?
Oh, you're the coolest one to me, always.
To you.
It's literally.
What do you mean?
It literally sounds like when your mum calls you cool.
It does.
Like, do you know what I mean? It's one of those.
You'll always be cool to me,
Yeah,
Chris.
exactly.
Well, at least it's better than waking up with your cup of tea. No, that's right. When you the apocryphal tale of turning around and finding a cup of tea on the side of the. Google it. It's a busy time in video games, everybody. Hello, children. My name's Adam. I'm the children's TV presenter now. It's a busy time for us, boys and girls. And I've been looking forward to this pod since the last one. Actually, I really have been.
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. Well,
no, honestly, I have so many emotions about this podcast.
Well, explain why, because people might be tuning in for the first time ever.
I'll tell you why. Because we're going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, right?
We are,
and I'm not bothered about talking about that. I'll talk about that for as long as people will let me. I'm worried about Lyle Carr talking about Tears of the Kingdom, to be honest, because if you've somehow stumbled upon this podcast, this welcome, yes, firstly.
Hello, boys and girls.
Yes, exactly, yes. Strap in, boys and girls, because Lyle Carr believes that Breath of the Wild is just all right. It's like a 6.5 out of 10. And now,
do we build up to it with him then? Do you want to build up? Because I'd like to hear.
No, he's going first. I can't do it.
I was going to do the other way around. No. I was going to build up.
You can't do it.
No.
Well, okay, let me just explain.
I have to have rebuttal. I cannot have him.
But you still can.
No.
Also, you've already assumed the worst by the sounds of it.
You have, yeah. Well, I might be.
If I'm wrong, then cool. Then we'll all be.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. Do you trust me?
I always trust you.
Okay, then trust me as the host of this podcast. Just trust me. Tears of the Kingdom is out now, and I wanted to talk about it last week and also because you have to, because the review embargo was up, and so I had a lot to say. But I did also hold quite a lot back, because I still feel that way. Like in our Discord, there's a whole
load of stuff this week for me.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything. But like in the Discord, like there's so much that's said, and I'm just like, But yeah, what I'm actually, and it sounds like bullshit, but I genuinely cannot wait. And I've been watching through our Discord, and it's just great looking at people discover, because I didn't get that. That's woe is me gets to play Tears of the Kingdom before everyone else. Oh my god, cry! Yeah. But the only thing I missed out on is that sort of water cooler thing.
I know Lyle has done this and been very, flamboyantly discreet about the fact that he's not said anything until now. Yeah. I've tried to not say a lot.
Okay.
In that, because I wanted to save it for this as well, like how I'm feeling. It's not been a single straight trajectory.
Well, just let's get into it then. I want to hear what you guys think. Chris, you start. Trust your friend and podcast host.
Okay,
listen, think of it as the entertainment point. If we just go with Lyle, then everyone switches off the podcast. We're just talking to nobody.
Oh, fucking thanks.
You're the one who said it. Everyone's tuning in. We build up to it. I'm half tempted to do it after listener correspondence. Or it's a Patreon only pod where you got to pay for it. But no, Chris, tell us about your time with Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, so for all the boys and girls that are new, I actually liked Breath of the Wild a very much lot.
You weirdo! What a weird.
I know. To the point, like me and Adam message and joke about it. Like I think you mentioned it last week on the pod. I would have been fighting for it to be Game of the Year, and I know Odyssey was that year. It's bloody close, but you know, I think it's a fantastic game. I've written for the site about how I think it's the third best Zelda game ever made. It's superb. It's amazing. It's brilliant. So fair bit of pressure when I go into Tears of the Kingdom because there's a lot when you think about it. There aren't many. In fact, there aren't really any like direct sequels. There is kind of Majora's Mask, but that isn't really. And the what's the one that's Link to the Past? Link Between Worlds. That's not really.
I think the DS ones as well, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Are they related? I think, but no one really cares that much.
Yeah, it's like Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker kind of. If you squint, also, it's never really in terms of like same world and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a bold step for the series, and you go well and. It's the Zelda game probably people spent the most time with, and so have explored the world, have looked about a bit, like got enraptured with it, and then you go, the next one's just in that same place, and you're like, oh great, that was part of the fun of Breath of the Wild was all the exploration. So I was a bit not worried because Zelda games are never crap unless they're Skyward Sword. So I was like, it's still going to be good, but like it's. We'll leave that one. We'll leave that one.
Let's not do that this week.
And we'll move on. So I knew it'd be good, but I was like, is it going to feel as magical? Because that's how that game felt to me. It felt like magical, and the exploration of Breath of the Wild just felt magical. And I'll just lay my cards down on the table, right? You said it last week, and I don't care. This is better than Breath of the Wild. And the feelings that this game is now eliciting in me. I will talk about the journey, but is now eliciting in me. I'm having to have a big word with myself about where this game ranks for me. I've just said.
Do you see why we had that discussion, that very one-sided discussion, where I was like, in the review, I want to say this is one of the best games I've ever played, but at the same time, I would never normally say that until 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Have gone and I've been able to really ruminate on it. Yet it was just so strong that I know this is. Waking up early to play the fucking thing.
Yeah, it was definitely that, right? I've had one evening since I started playing it where I haven't played it, and
well, just to say, like today as we record is the first day I haven't played it since getting it, and it's now after the review by a week.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. I felt like I'd let myself down, my family down.
Me down,
And I've been trying to think, obviously, because I knew this podcast was happening, like, how do you explain this sort of stuff? You've obviously had to do it for the review. Like, how do you actually convey the kind of the enjoyment and the feeling? And it's like, you spoke a lot about it last week. It's because it's a combination of things that are happening all the time. Like it's a sense of kind of discovery, curiosity, kind of creativity.
It's childlike wonder. It really is for me.
It really is. It makes me feel childish. It's how games made me feel back then, and I haven't felt like that for a long time. And I've played amazing games. I was thinking, I went straight back to last year, Ragnarok. Great game, fantastic, right? Absolutely brilliant game. It didn't make me feel like this, right? It made me feel other things, right? For the story and stuff. But the way this game makes me feel is kind of like it's like how I'm playing it. It's making me feel whilst I'm playing it, rather than say God of War or something like that. Makes me feel as I'm experiencing like maybe a really well told story and character interactions and things. This is like how I'm feeling as an individual and how it's almost rewarding me for those positive feelings as well. It's a very lovely experience, and all these things people are saying about like you go off in one direction, not the band, with a plan to do something to achieve in an evening or a day, and then you sit back and go, well, fuck me, I didn't achieve anything that I intended to do because I instantly got distracted by something else and then went down a rabbit hole.
Do you not find also that it can be this thing of you can spend 4 hours and have this I don't use this word often, but this epic adventure in 4 hours.
Oh my god! Right,
but you can also find 2 Korok seeds, do a shrine, and that's like an hour done. But you're like, that was great. I felt fine with that. It's almost like the biggest, shortest game in terms of sessions you can ever have.
Last night, I probably had one of my best nights on the game. I did achieve some stuff. I did. But I literally had my entire evening was just 2 adventures. One, I just explored a cave, which sounds stupid, but this cave kept going on for fucking ever, and I just kept finding like.
I actually think I know where that is because I did the same thing, and I'm like, this cave needs to stop soon because I only was going to come down here for 5 minutes.
And I'm really going to not try and spoil anything, but like the things I found.
Is it quite central on the map?
Yes. And
does it end in a boss fight?
There is a optional boss
fight
there.
I think
the cave don't end there.
Do you remember me telling you about a cave that I'd found? That was the one. And I was like, I only came down here to do this bit of a story, little side quest, and I've ended up...
Yes, I did that. And then I was like, well, I could just break that wall and see where that goes.
So I will.
I've known that 2 hours was going to pass, so I was going to explore this cave and come up against all these high-level enemies and all this other find all this other stuff and find loads of other... I don't want to spoil what I found, but I found some good stuff, not just mushrooms. And like, so it felt like I was being rewarded for the exploration. And then the second adventure, I went into I got a side quest. I hadn't really been much in the depths, and I just spent fucking ages in that and found something amazing, which completely changes my perspective on one of the amazing parts of the game. And I'm just like, that was one evening, and I cannot. It's really hard to convey, but this game is just so rewardingly fun. And it makes you...
And yet you're never getting like an achievement pop-up or a trophy.
No.
It's like none of that's present because it's a Switch game. It's just gratification.
The gratification is... There's so many levels to the gratification because you can get it from just solving a puzzle. You can get it through being creative. You can get it by discovering something and being rewarded. You can get it for like beating really hard enemies or whatever because you can get rewarded with like higher level, if you like, in terms of the numbers equipment, which can then boost you later on. It's just it's blowing me away because you said to me when you said to me about this could be one of your favorite games of all time, like steady on, mate, right? Just steady on. I've got quite a high bar for that, and I don't want it to disappoint me, but I have not had a game make me feel like childish is probably a really good way of describing it. Just feel enraptured with it. I mean, it's that moment at the moment. I can't.
When you opened a Christmas present as a kid and you didn't know what it was because you were a kid, and it was that excitement of the unknowing, but knowing it would be good. It's that for me.
Honestly, it is such a good game, and it's a game that allows you to have fun on your own terms. Like it's big enough and broad enough where it doesn't dictate what you have to find enjoyable. Like there's so many different ways. There are set ways to achieve certain things. There's plenty other ways you can achieve certain things. Plenty of ways in which you can go about doing stuff. Some of the stuff you guys were chatting about when you were desperately trying not to be spoilery last week, I hadn't even fucking considered. I was like, that would be awesome. Why did I not think of doing that? And it's something so basic and fundamental. And you're just like, this is cool, man. Like it's on such another level from the stuff from Breath of the Wild where you were just like, well, that's a nice, cool little feature that like, Link shivers if it's a bit cold, or actually if you leave an apple on the ground when it's warm, it becomes a roast apple. Isn't that quite a cool little thing? Here, it's like dialed up to 11 because it's actually fundamental to the way stuff works. It's not just like, do you know what I mean? It's it's baked into how you can achieve things rather than just, I can't believe Nintendo added that little tweak in. It's actually embedded into the way the game works. It's so... I'm fucking loving it, right? It is. I do want to hear what Lyle thinks because there's things we can talk about that I don't want to spoil, but things we can talk about the things that he didn't like about Breath of the Wild and things that other people quite rightly pointed out and said there are things that people pointing out Breath of the Wild that don't bother me as much, but I can understand why they're criticisms. that I think Tears of the Kingdom deals with in a really interesting way without just going, I put it like that, so we just got rid of it, which is what other games would do. And I'm interested to know if that's enough, and that's why I want to hear what he says, because I worry some people go, no, I can't look past that, whereas I actually think this is really clever. So I'm going to hand it over, and I'm going to sit back.
Yay.
And I'm going to get... I'm allowed to. Have I done enough crescendo building? Is that all right? Good. Okay. Just right. Go on, then.
All right. Thank you very much. I guess it's my turn to speak about a new Zelda game.
I don't know who to have on screen. I kind of want it to be like full screen on the video version of what, but also I kind of can't have. We'll have to just have it like this because I can't not have Chris's reaction.
Yeah, Chris needs to be sort of part of it, doesn't he? For certain. Yeah. Okay. So I've loved Zelda all my life. It was before Breath of the Wild. Probably my favorite series and one that like was pretty much like 100% hits. Like I enjoyed like a significant amount every single game. Like there was a single game, even like spin-off Zelda games, that I didn't think was like maybe like an 8 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? Like great.
Yeah, no, essentially. The worst ones are still good. Even though I hit on Skyward Sword, it's still a good game. Like it's still a really good game. It just
Okay, so and then Breath of the Wild, a lot. It didn't click with me. Me and open world games don't mesh that well at the best of times. I think that's something that was a big sticking point. And if you've listened to our Patreon exclusive podcast, Breath of the Wild, which for signing up to the Patreon, you can hear more about my opinions on that specific game.
Medical advisory: if you suffer from high blood pressure, probably take it, really slowly. Yes.
Just a minute at a time and keep testing as you go.
Take regular breaks.
Yeah. So I was going into this game. Contrary to popular belief, I was still
looking forward
excited for the game. I still love Zelda. Like, if Chris had a Zelda game that he suddenly thought was a 6.5 in the series, he would still be excited for the next one.
You want the next one to bring it back, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
It's your way of saying we're not so different, you and I, to Chris, because he loves Skyward Sword.
Appealing to my kind of emotion and logic on the series. We're not the same.
So different, you and I.
I was excited. And then last week I talked about it with Adam, and we had our little 2-man podcast where I tried to be very reasoned and got myself more excited than I expected as well, and got the game on launch day against all odds from a rental service. And so it turns out I really, really love this game.
Thank fuck for that.
I really, really love this game.
Do you know what? Like, I was gonna get angry with you. Honestly, you know how I've been with. Well, go and listen to Breath of the Lyle, and there are times when I do get disappointed with you, when you spout shit about Parappa the Rapper and penis games. But like, I think the reason. I'm sorry, I will let you talk in a minute. But like, it's such a relief because like, I've probably not done a really good job of expressing how magical I think this is, and I'm not ready for someone to shit on it in front of me. And if you had, I don't think I'd have been professional at all. Like,
I'm a bit sad that couldn't happen. But like, I mean,
tell me why. Tell me why, okay. And why?
Tell me why.
Yeah, ain't nothing.
I do love Zelda.
But like, I'm really interested in is why you really like this one, and given it's like Breath of the Wild, like what is it? Like, I'm really interested to hear that.
Sure. Okay. So I think in Breath of the Wild, I didn't sort of realize how much those sort of core mechanics of, like you had like the bomb, the thing where you hit something in a certain direction, all the powers that are very, very different in this game. I don't think I realized how much like I didn't care that much about them. Really, like the magnet, all those things, like how much they weren't a huge deal. And in this game, all the powers like they're not just like a huge deal in how they affect the game. They also just are unlike, pretty much every single one of them is unlike any other game. So like, there's not really many games where you just confuse 2 items together to make a weapon and it works, and there's so many different options and combinations that just like make combat so interesting. There's not like, I mean, outside of games where the whole point of it, like, you know, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, that has been brought up by a lot of people, are like to make vehicles. You can't just do that in other games, like in games where you're, you know, running around with a sword most of the time. But in this, you can make a fucking hot air balloon. And
do you know what I really like about it? I never played Nuts and Bolts, right? Because you know, death to Xbox at that time and all that sort of stuff. But like, it's like, what I love about it in this one is there's very few limitations on what you can fuse together.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's lovely because normally in this kind of stuff, it's like, well, it's got to be this type and this type, otherwise it won't work together because it might look stupid or something. I'm like, I picked up my weapon the other day that was a halberd stuck to another halberd, and the name of the weapon was a halberd. And I was just like, I mean, it's brilliant and it's fucking long, right? And I was just like,
I'll bet it is
brilliant. Like, you should be like, if you're gonna do it, you should just let rip and just do it, right? And I love the fact that you can
I had that moment too, like when and my son was in the room, and it was like I got a long sword or something like that, and we both
exactly,
just burst out laughing. It's like, yeah, fair enough, they got it.
Yeah,
and this is it, and it's like I love the fact that it's limitless almost in that sense, because that's what then pushes the experimentation. When you limit it, that's people might get a bit bored with it quite quickly. Be like, well, what would happen if I did put that with that? And I can choose to, and all that sort of stuff. But sorry, I just want to get over that halberd thing. I was like, this is brilliant.
It's worth interrupting for a halberd. Yeah. I think we can all agree. I've also completed a dungeon. So
have I? Yes, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I sort of want to ask which one, but I don't also want to ask which one.
I did the one with the birds.
Excellent. So did I.
That's the one I did first.
Spoil, reference. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
So I had a big issue with the dungeons in Breath of the Wild. That was maybe my biggest complaint, really, if you go back and listen. And I mean, I think a lot of that was that the dungeons weren't particularly memorable. They weren't particularly chunky, and like they were, you know, they all sort of functioned in the same way and just expected to use the same things. And in this game, that first dungeon, at the very least, that I did, the one I chose to do first, was very creative. It had a specific power you used there that you couldn't use before you went there, essentially, or at least not before you were on your way there, to avoid spoilers. So it felt like there was like a theme of what you're doing in this dungeon that was like, you're using this thing that you've not done before, which is kind of like how in old Zeldas you'd find like a boomerang in this dungeon, or
you conveniently need the boomerang to
exactly. It did that whole thing. And I mean, I'd say like it wasn't the longest dungeon ever. Like it was over fairly quickly.
Well, I want to talk about this. Yeah,
I do also now. Yes, go on. Sorry, go on.
So like, it wasn't like it lasted less. Like it felt a little bit like it would be a good first dungeon, which made me a little worried because I was like, if you can do them in any order, if this one kind of feels like you're going in the Great Deku Tree in an Ocarina of Time, I hope that the others are maybe a little bit more significant. But in terms of just being this sort of like epic place to explore that's different to everything else I've done and thematically made sense for what was going on, really cool, like really interesting, lots of bits I really enjoyed. Not to spoil anything again, but
so, I'm going to really try my best to not spoil anything either. So I did the same one, so I've got the same frame of reference, right? My view on it is, you know, the dungeons in Breath of the Wild were quite compact, the divine beasts, whatever they were, and the one that I've done, the physical dungeon, is also quite compact. But what my view on it is, though, and Adam, you kind of touched on this in the review and the pod, I think, is like it's I guess it's what you consider the dungeon to be, because there's also definitely the journey to get. You cannot do that dungeon without the journey to get there.
No,
and some Zelda games do have a bit of, you know, journey to a dungeon thing, but this is on a completely different level, and that, you know, when you combine all of it together, I'm like, that's a meaty kind of time and experience and a kind of dungeon experience. And like you say, it's like you can't do even the traverse to get there without the ability that you get on the way. And so I was like, actually, it feels grander. And not only that, the stuff that I went through to get it, like the rest of the game, there's bits I want to go back to later because I met you and I was like, I'll come leave that for later. Because I was like, I'll just die without spoiling. And I was like, I've never wanted to go back to a dungeon in any other Zelda game. So the fact that I've marked it and I'll go back when I'm feeling more brave is another thing as well, which is very, reminiscent of this type of game anyway. So I was like, do you know what? Like, I think that's probably, like with the few stuff kind of dealing with the degradation stuff really, really well, as all the creativity. Having situations where actually kind of you're not just disregarded the style of like, the compact dungeons, but you've kind of Nintendo have kind of looked at it and gone, that's a fair thing, a problem or an issue that we could look at, and the way we're going to tackle it is not just go, it's a different way of doing it. Going, we'll make the experience of the dungeon, longer by kind of making the experience, and they haven't just made a long ass path, right? Let's be really clear.
Yes,
the nature of getting to it is really interesting and cool as well. And I know from what you've said, Adam, that it's, there are different, you said you had to go into a cave and then a dungeon and then a dungeon, right? Or something like that. So it's like there's different things for each of the areas, right? So it's not going to be the same. So I do feel like there's meatiness to those dungeon, I guess, experiences, for want of a better thing. And I was quite pleased with how that was. And the boss was different and interesting versus the 4 things in Breath of the Wild that were just the same but different. So I found it was a nice, I guess, a nicer counter to the complaints, but still gets true to the style they went for with Breath of the Wild, which I thought was a nice way of doing it.
So I think, although I something about it makes me think you're supposed to go to that one first.
They heavily say.
Okay.
When it brings up the I guess this is not really spoiling much, but it brings up the quest to go, you could go to these 4 areas and just, shit's happening, go and have a look. It then goes, you could do what you like. However, there's about 3 more sentences that go, this one, really seriously, this one, and this one. So I think it definitely does try and make you do that.
What I would say about that is that I actually think, and this is, I don't know if this is going to be a good or bad thing, but I actually think in terms of, so let's say each dungeon has a kind of getting to the dungeon, that's part 1, and part 2 is the dungeon location where the puzzle stuff is.
Yeah.
I actually think of the 4, and I'm not going to say anything specific, but I actually think of the 4, the actual bit where you do all the puzzles, I wouldn't say it's the most basic, but I think it's the most simple in that if you came there last, I think the things that you stand there going, I get what I need to do, but I can't, like, there's a bit where you have to join up 2 cogs in that dungeon, okay? And I stood there just going, what? I know what has to happen here. Those 2 have to connect. But I'm stood there looking around going, I can't get it. Then I got it.
And then just to say on that thing, right? Because I remember that. I did stand there for a little while going, well, because what most games would do, right? Literally, most other games, they would have, I guess, in that sense, like a cog to find that you've got to lift up and put in there.
Well, this
right?
is what you're trained to think.
And so your brain is trained to go, right, I've got 2 cogs that need connecting. I need to find the thing that you've hidden somewhere, and then I'll move it with my ability to go. And I was like, okay, where's this cog? Well, it isn't fucking anywhere. So this, what the heck am I supposed to do? And then you go, oh.
Well, I kind of want to know how you did it.
That puzzle's like, what's that?
I kind of want to know how you did it, because I thought that, again, because it's, for me, early in the game is the wrong way of putting it.
I'll write you a word in the chat.
Okay. But the reason I ask is because at that stage, you are still in the process of retraining your brain. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So how you did it is how I did it. And if anyone is struggling with that, I would just say, look up. Just look up in that area, and you might see something. I know someone who did that a different way.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that that's an option, though. Yeah.
I mean, same way in terms of connecting them, but not using the thing that we've all agreed we used. Yeah. That is how I did it. And when this person told me did it, I was like, oh yeah, Fucking hell. Now, he didn't do it like... I'm not going to say the man's a genius, because he's probably listening. But I know it was almost desperation of like, I can't do this. And it forced his hand. And I've done stuff in, like, I think it was the... I think the northern dungeon area, the more central northern one. And I did stuff that definitely is not how... it's not the easy way. And in fact, it was only after the game came out and people were sharing stuff in the Discord of things you could fuse to a shield, let's say, and I was like, oh my God, that would have made it so much easier. Oh my fucking God, I would have... There were times when I was like, again, that kind of... At least I knew by then I didn't have to work out the optimal route. But, my God, would I've done it a lot quicker. But I would say of those 4... I think not the weakest, because I really liked the boss fight in that, and I really did like the climb to it. In fact, I liked all of it. There was no part of that section I didn't like. But of knowing what I know, if that makes sense, of the others, I think it might be... it's like saying, I'm saying it's the weakest, but I don't want to use those words. Do you know what I mean? Because it isn't weak. Yeah. It's just
that's a good thing.
That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah.
I was hoping you would go, it's actually the best one. So
there's one, and again, I'm not going to spoil it. Like when you get to the sort of final section where you're in the main puzzly bit, the kind of final element.
Yeah.
It's actually quite small in terms of the dungeon size. It's more of a vertical thing than a. It's really fucking good though. Like, it's really puzzly and really like. And I forget if I said this last week or not, but it was just so... The end, I was like, you've probably gathered that each time you do one, there's a certain amount of things you have to do to progress to the boss sort of thing. That's video game mechanics. And the last one I had to find, I could see it on the map and I was like, I am the dumbest person in the world. I'm going to have to not review this game because I can't find the solution. And then it was literally a case of... I just had to move that thing and the entrance to that one was right behind that thing. I just had to literally ultra hand it out of the way. But because I'd now gone the other way where I was almost double thinking, triple thinking, overthinking everything, I was like, it can't be that. It must be...
It was interesting the way my brain worked when I got to that dungeon, because my brain goes into Zelda dungeon mode. So then I was like, well, no, there must be keys for doors, and that's the way I progress. Like, no, you've got all these flipping tools at your disposal. That's how you work these things out. Whereas normally, like within Zelda games, you're like, right, this room or whatever is its own little puzzle, and I'll move on to the next one. It's like, no. Like, you can figure stuff out with like the powers that you've got. And I was like, because I, if I'm honest, I was going, well, I've explored everywhere, and there's like, you can't get to these other 3. And then I'm not going to spoil like what it did. Right, looking on the map helps, but but like I was like, well, where are they then? I'm stupid. I was like, well, like, and then I obviously looked at the map and I was like, well, that would make sense. Let's go and sort that out. But like, it's the things that I had to retrain my brain a little bit, because you come across barriers, and there are the solutions in other games and even other Zelda games of what those, like, to open doors or to get past barriers and obstacles. And it's just the mechanics that you've got this time around are so much more freeing in terms of exploration and puzzle solving. You have to almost retrain your brain to how you overcome it. Like, and it's just so good. But I thought it was funny how I just went straight back to how this is how you do dungeons in Zelda, and had to stop and go, no. What could this be?
It's kind of wild how much, like, you don't think about using the powers early on, especially. Like, because, like, I think I've probably played about like 10 hours or something. Like, not a lot realistically, but a decent chunk of time, enough time to know that I'm really enjoying myself, all that sort of stuff. But like, I spent so much of this game with like weapons where I'd fused a rock onto it, because I was like, oh, well, there's boxes everywhere that have arrows in, and I need to break them, and it's damaging all my weapons. And
oh my God, you're going to do this. You're going to, I've thought of doing that yesterday. What you're going to say?
Just lifted up the box and dropped it.
Oh wow, that was I knew. I don't know why I knew to do that, but from the start of the game, it was like, do you know what you can also do? You can also sometimes just drop them on one another. But there's also like...
I was just like,
Or drop them on an enemy and then like double bonus.
Yeah, I was just like, every time I get them, I'm like, and it annoys me because barrels you have to seem to drop from like the greatest height known to man.
But you know what I like about
boxes,
that? Even more than that is that everything you've said is exactly true, and I did it as well. But then as you progress and you have better weapons and you have better fusions because you've beaten harder enemies, you don't need to, and you can just run around and you can just switch to this is the axe I've had for ages because it doesn't seem to break, and I know how to do this. I know how to just make an axe out of anything. So eventually I stopped doing that and I just smash stuff and it's quicker.
Storage stuff helps and all this sort of stuff. That's what I mean. Like, there's reward for everything. Like, because even the pissing Korok seeds, right, which were for storage before, right? But like, it's like they help with the kind of ethos of the game because they give you more options to play about and have.
Do we know
utility.
how many of them there are yet? Because there was loads in the first game, and I kind of think because there were lots of ones in this game where you can get rewarded 2 for doing the puzzle ones. Maybe is there like a lot more? I don't know.
It's hard because I'm seeing. I haven't explored as much because I end up just pissing about. But it does feel like there's certainly less of like I remember. I seem to remember in Breath of the Wild I was coming across like stone shapes, shapes of stones and things that you have to get like every 5 meters, and I've only found like one of those, so I don't know if there's like they've toned down certain ones. And
when you say stone shapes, what do you mean?
Like a circle of stones with one missing.
Oh, those, yeah. So there's that. There's yeah. I'm just trying to think how many different mechanics I've encountered for solving.
Yeah, I found about 5 or 6.
I'd at least double that, I think. The only one they really seem to reuse is
the only one I've seen that I haven't seen in Breath of the Wild is the tours at the moment, but I've not.
I didn't really go after the Koroks. I haven't in this, if I'm honest. I just seem to find them. I didn't go after them in the Breath of the Wild, but there is definitely a puzzle one. And I'm trying to think how not to spoil it. It's sort of like a statue that I had to do something with the statue that got me. And I thought it was going to be something a lot more amazing, but it was just a Korok. But it's fine. That was quite cool because. I don't feel like I'm hurting for them. I feel like I find enough of them. Like I've got 20 plus at the moment. I just need to go and, exchange them and upgrade. But I'm not finding I'm desperate. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe it's where I am in the game. I am like I said, 75 hours now.
It will never get old. You know the ones that are hiding under rocks.
And
then you just naturally end up dropping the rock on their head just because of the nature of the conversation. Like
every time I see a rock though, that's like just one rock in an area, you're like,
I have to lift it up,
and there's nothing there.
Disease, but
it's very, very good. It's a game where like, okay, I think I probably still am not maybe finding it as magical as you two, just to be fully honest. I do think there's still things I'm not 100% into. I do think the fact it's very open and I don't really enjoy riding around on horses or making particularly spectacular vehicles means that sometimes it does a bit feel like I'm running across like quite a large expanse and it's maybe a bit much, stuff like that. And I kind of think that part of the reason I maybe don't construct as many vehicles as I could is that like it's a little bit fiddly. And
I will say, I without spoiling, from stuff I've got recently, I am now all in on creating stuff, and I wasn't really before. Like, and
Chris, what would you do if I told you that there was even more than you knew? And I know what you're talking about because you just
I
found
know
the
you
thing.
do because I told you.
But there is definitely something in this game that nobody in our Discord and nobody here has gotten to yet because it is story related. I'm not. That's it. No, I've said too much.
But I guess the point is, like, Lyle, for you, I remember. So I had a bit of a sassy pants conversation with Adam the other day about Tears of the Kingdom because he asked me about how I was feeling about it, and I was in a shit mood. So I was just going everything negative about it, like, it's been a journey. And one of the things I said was like, I'm not really building stuff outside of shrines.
That's fair.
And sign support for my man. They're the things
I love him. Is he shit? Do we need to make a note? I've forgotten his name because I'm thinking best new character.
He's getting added. He's getting added.
Fine.
Don't worry about that.
He's terrific. Like
he's really
superb.
good.
So I was like, I like the mechanics and I like what they do, but I haven't really kind of there's that people better than me will make really good things.
But
and
isn't that
stuff.
always the way? Like Little Big Planet and Dreams. Like I
Yeah, but I think
admire
I'm
what
not,
people
I
do, but I
guess
can't do it.
at the moment I've not got to a place where I'm like, do you know what? I'll just experiment. Whereas I know people on our Discord have experimented with stuff, and I know this game rewards experimentation, and there's reasons for that because I've chosen to do certain things over other things, and I know if I, for example, just went up to the sky for a little bit, I'd find stuff and have more to play with.
Very much so.
But like, I found something last night, Lyle, and I was just like, oh, well, now I'm all in.
That was the moment, by the way. That was that what you've just had is the one where I was like, I was fucking a lot further in than. Did you find it by mistake, or did you find the quest? So I didn't get the quest because I hadn't been back to that location.
You can get.
Oh no, I know, because when I went back later, you then basically get the quest and then immediately hand it in. But I found that completely by accident. I was just like, "What's that over there?" I'm going to go and look at that thing. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck?
There is a piece to that which I can concede around. Well, you may never find that, Lyle, and so therefore.
No, I think you will because I think I would have eventually.
Quest-related,
it is quest related.
And it's quite, for want of a better word, centrally quest related. So I think there is a high chance people will find it. But and how you get to it and what you have to do. Do you know what I mean? Like to properly.
But I mean, one of my biggest tips for that game would be, well, yes, do adventure, do everything you want to do, but do just check in at your sort of home base in Central Hyrule in what's it called? Lookout Landing. Just check in now and again with the people there because there's some really good stuff that you might miss if you don't.
It's my go-to for the for blessing light things because I can't record
the same,
it's close to a fast travel, so I just go there every time anyway.
Right.
But and that's where Maraca Man is, so it helps. But do
you know the crazy shit here is that I know obviously I've finished it.
Yeah.
We aren't even talking about story. Because, in fairness, you guys aren't far into the story, and yet I'm here going. I mean, we don't do that many spoiler casts. This is one where I'm like, we can't. It'd probably be too late, and that's fine because I would not want anyone to ever rush this game for any reason.
No,
but man,
it does. For the stuff I've observed, because me and Lyle have seen the same thing story-wise, right? We have. Yeah. I think it's quite interesting. And I'd like to see where it goes for the others as well, because of what is kind of emerging as the theme. It's interesting. It feels better than. I mean, Zeldas have never been like Shakespearean,
No, not really. It's never been the point, has it?
Never really the point. Like, but
I mean, I'll say it. Fine, I'll say it. This is the best story they've ever had in a Zelda game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could see that being the case.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me as a statement.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it's not much to go up against itself, is it? Really?
No. But yeah, I just want to play it, and yeah, it just makes me feel so fun. It makes me feel fun. That's weird. No, I am having fun whilst playing it.
And you feel fun, more
I am not a fun person. I am not fun. Look, we need to move on.
At the risk of making this a 6-hour Zelda special, we'll be talking about this for weeks yet, because there will be things you guys discover as you play that you'll bring it back to the fore. So let's not spend too long on the other two games we've got to chat about this week, because we've got a lot of listener correspondence. But Chris, you have, ironically, you have been playing a game I was incredibly excited to play, and have not played anything of the final version yet, because you have been playing.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I can't think why. But you've been playing Humanity.
At the time I was playing this, I played this before Tears of the Kingdom. I've been playing Humanity, which, for all intents and purposes, if you don't know anything about Humanity, it's basically 3D lemmings with people instead of lemmings. Is probably the first description. Of the easiest way of thinking about it. The only difference, I guess, to lemmings, where you have to guide these lemmings to the end, you have different types of lemmings that do different things. The way Humanity works in its 3D space is you put different things on the ground, and then when the humans walk over that kind of icon, if you like, they do something. So the most basic one is they might change direction, right? So you change the direction in which they're walking in to guide them to the end. They can also like climb, jump, different types of jumps. They might float for a bit. And I don't want to spoil some of the others because they're later on in the game, but like basically the idea is that each of it is a puzzle to try and get these never-ending stream of humans to the end goal, right? That's essentially each, and it's a load of puzzles, and you have to use the abilities to get them. If they die, it's fine. If they fall off the edge, that's fine because they just get sort of reincarnated and go back to the queue. So don't worry if you cock up because you're not actually killing people. That's the vibe from the game. So yeah. So I when I was playing this, like it's a bit unlike anything I've played before. I played Lemmings back on was it the Commodore? I don't know, something old when I was playing Lemmings originally, and you very much get that vibe. But it's one of those puzzlers that's like challenging but very satisfying because what it does is you've got like a very kind of compact set of options to play with, and on different levels you might have different things to play with, so it only gives you almost what you need, right? So a bit like Lemmings as well, like it was like you've only got these types on this level, and you know, apart from the first couple of levels where it's like it's obvious, I just got to turn a couple of ways and I get to the end, right? But like it there's definitely enough difficulty here for you to go, it isn't apparent from when you first look at the puzzle when it starts to go what you've got to do, and you'll cock up and you'll make a mistake and you'll think you've laid it all out perfectly, and then something will happen. You go, I haven't factored that in, or that jump's not long enough, or whatever. And it's in that sense, it's really well designed because they're never. I think they're the right side of taxing. Like, I struggled with bits, but after a bit of trial and error, managed to get through relatively quickly. So if you're a fan of like puzzle games, it's a really good a good time in that respect. There's like a couple of extra bits to it. So they have these gold people who are interestingly named Goldies. They represent stuff which I won't spoil because it goes into the story. But basically, you get kind of if in the constant stream of people that you're guiding around the level, if you manage to kind of pick these Goldies up on the path of people and transport them to the exit as well without them dying, you get they add them to your Goldie collection, and collecting Goldies unlocks different things. A lot of it is cosmetic, but some of it is like handy little things, like you can like fast forward time and rewind time and stuff. So some of them actually help with what you're doing, and some of them show you like stats and stuff about how many people you've killed and survived and all this sort of stuff. So a lot of it's kind of quirky cosmetic stuff, but it adds an extra challenge because you can go, oh, I know how to do it without getting the Goldies, but how would I finish it if I had to also pick up the Goldies as well? So it's like a double layered kind of challenge in that sense. So that's like cool. You know how whether you can completely complete the level or not.
Yeah.
And so that's I mean, I've summarized it, but that's like the main game. But then a big part of this is, I think, if people are interested in this type of game, there's also like creator level options as well. So there is obviously with it being out, people can then create their own levels, and then you can play other people's creations like Mario Maker and that sort of stuff. So that kind of adds, I guess, to the longevity of the game. If you kind of come back to it and go, oh, what people's creations, how the heck am I going to solve this one that some masochist has created? So that's kind of going to add to the playtime. I know it is available in VR, but I don't have VR, so I can't comment on that particular like facet of it. But I know that it's kind of VR capable. But
I did play the demo in PSVR 2, and it's what you'd imagine it to be. You can move, your head is the camera now. You can move it in and out and look around it, and it does add an element to it, but it's not like it doesn't require. And I don't think they're saying it does. I don't know if it's PC VR. I think it is because it's also on Steam. And it's
think
part of
it
the
is.
PlayStation Plus catalog, but like I think the second and third tier, I'm not sure. I really loved the demo of it, and I will get to it. It's really interesting, and it's got that kind. It's very. Can you say this? I don't know, but it's got a very Japanese feel to it. Like, do you know what I mean? It has got that kind of feel, I guess, and it might not even be that, but it's from Enhance and
it
it's
sounds
got their
really
vibe.
lovely really lovely as well. It looks kind of clean and nice, but like the background music's kind of like it's very aesthetically pleasing to kind of play. I had a really good time with it. Like,
I want to play it.
I like a puzzler. It's a very good example of it. And I was like, have I actually played something like this? And the only thing I could really think about was Lemmings. And I was like,
for me, I'd go also a bit of Echochrome. During the PS3 era, they tried to do a lot of these games where they were like,
what that is.
Well, a lot of them they were to try and promote the move ones because you could move things around. So there was Echochrome 2. There was another one similar. It's not really like them, but it's got that vibe, and they were good. Like I will play this, but maybe the worst release date I can think of for a game. I mean, even if you're not into Zelda, what's coming is.
You know me. I really like a puzzler. I really like puzzle games, so I enjoyed playing this. Obviously, Chris reviewed it. Go read the review on the site. He really liked it as well. It's hard to recommend over Tears of the Kingdom, and in that sense, it might struggle, but it's definitely a very, very polished puzzle game that is interesting, a little bit different. The puzzles don't take too long to do either, so it is one of those ones you could dip in out of and go, I'll just play that, do a couple of levels. It's very much that as well. It's not like, God, this is going to take me an hour just to crack this one puzzle, because they're
some of them are small. Even from the demo, some of them are brain melting.
That's what I mean. I think it strikes the right balance. You're not going to come into this and go, well, that's obvious. I'm not stupid. It's that, and that. There's it's quite clever in the way it goes. Oh, you think it's that, but it isn't. It's cleverer than that. And then when you add the goldy thing, it's like, right, well, you solved it the easy way. Now solve it the hard way. So it is. That's what I mean when I say it's like a good puzzler. I think it's a good balance. It requires you to think about things, and you will cock up because these people are relentless. They keep walking, and you sometimes not quick enough before they start marching, and they're dying and stuff. And you'll cock up, but there's no kind of penalty for cocking up. Like, it's just, you can just have another go. It's absolutely fine. I think it's a really good example. I agreed with what Chris said in his review. I think it's a very, very good game, and a very enjoyable puzzler, and something a little bit different. And it looks and sounds lovely. I think it's a really good game. People should try it. Good luck, but people should try it.
Just invent that time machine. And
yes, exactly.
It kind of that goes into a little bit of Lego 2K Drive. For me, because I mean, I won't talk about this for very long because I haven't actually played it for that long. I've played it.
I'm sorry. That's played it.
It was a bad pause, wasn't it? No, I haven't played it for that long. It's really odd because I kind of was looking forward to this because it just looks like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
A bit of frictionless fun, which is one of my favourite things these days.
Yeah.
And it's kind of if someone took Forza Horizon and then
Solid start.
But what if Lego? And also kind of Sonic and Sega transformed the kart races. You know how you smash through and because it does that. Like if you're in a car and then you go off-road, your car suddenly transforms into a Lego off-road type vehicle, and you can select which ones it turns into of and then if you go into the sea, it's really. And when I said frictionless, I really mean it. You can literally just drive in a straight line and keep going through everything. Everything's Lego bricks. You can't smash buildings, but you can smash everything else. A bit like Forza Horizon. Again, you're careening through the forest and stuff and smashing stones out the way, and in this case, like giant carrots or whatever. And it's very Lego. It's very everyone's name is a
should
pun.
Have giant carrots. Is what we're saying.
Everyone's name's a pun. I mean, there's a sheep corralling mini game. It's got all that sort of stuff. It's very much like that Forza Horizon of here's the world, drive around in it. If you want to do an event, pull up to it, hit a button, and we're doing an event now. Just if that makes sense. There's nothing wrong with it. right? And I think what Chris White said in his review, I very much sort of, I salute that, Mr. White. It's like, this feels like a really cool introductory point for the idea if they are then to then make another, like Lego 2K Drive 24 or whatever. And we know that they like to do that because, I mean, people, the Vicarious Vision has made the game and they're the NBA and the WWE developer. So we know it seems like a lot to ask. I don't know how big Vicarious Visions is, but if they end up having 3 yearly games, that would be it seems like a lot. I mean, it is a lot, full stop, technically, for them to have 3 big games.
100% is.
The only really downsides to it for me is that I don't feel like the Lego humour is quite on point as it is in some of the other Lego games. It feels a bit more skewed towards kids. It's very simple. And like I said, every name's a pun.
That was my worry if it goes too far, like the whole sort of like Rugrats or that type of thing.
The second area you go to is called Butte. Is it Butte Canyon? But it's spelled Butte. So it's Butte, and it's coming up on the screen, Butte Canyon, every time. But they're calling it Butte, if that makes sense. So it's not as awful, not awful for humour. The problem I had with it, which I don't think Chris had as much, maybe sometimes there's certain things in games that you're more sensitive to others, and it gets my hackles up a little bit when a game that is a full price video game that you go and buy in a shop that is not free to play in any way, doesn't have a free to play alternative, it is just a full price game, has kind of like battle passes and reams of currencies and menus. So Disney's Speedrun has all that. And it's not free to play yet, but it will be. So I'm like, well, look, it is kind of, they're doing the thing they did with Dream Valley, where it's like, if you want to come and play it now in early access, buy it. We're eventually going to come out of early access and we'll be free. And I think that's what like Disney Speed, I think I keep getting Speed Run. I think it's called that. But that Disney's one is doing. This isn't doing that to my knowledge, but it does have an awful lot of currencies, and it's got that kind of Overwatch 2 thing of like you can go into the store and buy different Lego vehicles that you can then, and none of it makes a huge difference, I would imagine, to the gameplay. I mean, they do. The cars do seem to have like, this is faster, but it's better handling or worse handling. So there is that. It just like with. Do you know sometimes when you build up a game, like a free to play game, and the menu system and the way the store's laid out is like, oh yeah, this is a free to play game, without telling you,
coming out the arse.
Not even that. It's just a certain style of menu. It's really hard to get across without just showing. But I feel like people like us who do it, like we play and review games and cover games all the time, I feel like you could walk into a room and someone goes, here's a game, I want to show you this game, and you could just go, is this free to play?
Naraka Blade Point. There's Omega Strikers over there.
Exactly. And Xbox did it for a while with even their premium games, like their menu structure, like it really had that kind of free-to-play menu structure. And I know it's a really silly criticism, but it just, there's elements of this that feel a little, just a lot of menus, a lot as it's got really cool stuff. Menu sensory overload. A little bit. Not as bad as actual free-to-play games. Like, do you know when Lyle, what was that Smash Bros game from Warner?
Multiverses.
Multiverses. That's a perfect example. You load that game up and you're like, this is free-to-play, isn't it? I mean, it wasn't when we played it, but
it wasn't. But then it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone now, and then that's weirder than anything. It's gone now, and it's coming back. But you know what I mean? That kind of menu system where there's just like specific stuff. You know, it's got that. I also think it feels very lightweight, and that's maybe intentional. You're driving around in a Lego car. You've got a boost, but the boost doesn't. When you hit the boost, you just go a bit faster. There's no oomph. So it's like a Forza Horizon Light, if that makes sense. Which is it's a good game. It really odd that they basically sent code and it was out a week later and there's no embargo, and you're like, Zelda?
yeah.
Like, I'm a fan of that sort of access. I think it's great if someone says to you, here's a game, it's out in a week, no embargo. It does make some people rush coverage up, but also it just means you can go, oh, cool, we can just do what we want with this. There's no pressure on this. There's no feeling of pressure.
Yeah.
But it feels like the kind of game where it's like, actually, you probably should have set an embargo so everyone reviewed it at the same time to give yourself some kind of bump, because there will be people out there in publishing and developing who are saying to clients and developers, we're just going to go very quiet now for about 4 weeks because Zelda. And like I said this, like Nintendo haven't yet announced a game for June. Even they're going quiet for Zelda.
Yeah, I told you they would. I told you. There's no way they're announcing a game for June.
June could be a Shadow Drop game. I still think that it might be because it's the E3 thing, and
like
I think,
a remake one as well,
something like that that would just give them an even bigger bump. But even they currently, as far as we know, have gone quiet. Why put this game out? It's not bad, by the way. It's not going to, unfortunately, get me playing it because I have other things to play that I can't talk about, and Zelda that I still want to play. So it's like
a lot, really.
It's just really odd. I mean, maybe it is aimed more at kids. It does feel like it's slightly more aimed at kids.
Yeah,
it's not predatory. I don't find it like monetarily predatory, as it were. I don't know. Like games are now like, what was that? Vampire the Masquerade, Blood Hunt that they've shut down development on, and that wasn't. There's another. It's every other week now an online game is shutting down. So while everyone was chasing that freedom, while everyone was chasing that battle pass, they're now going, no one cares. No one's playing this thing. They're all just still playing Destiny, Overwatch. They still love their Zeldas, Fortnites. There's no room. There's no more room at the inn. No. And I think we are slowly, and this is maybe a larger point than talking about Lego 2K, we are almost hitting the point of like, do you want to stuff this store in your game and have that negative connotations because you've done that, or do you want to put the game out and trust that people will enjoy what you've made? Now, I don't think we're not going to get to that point soon. It's just not going to happen because there's always going to be people going, no, we want, we can make more money off them. We can make more money off them, but at some point, someone somewhere is going to go, this doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and it's so difficult because there are so many of these games, like when I listed Multiverses or Omega Strikers, I fucking loved both those games, reviewed both those games, and then like played them for like a week after, and then was like, well, I have to play all the other games, and you're just going to make me feel guilty for not doing my weekly quest this time. So the first time I miss a weekly quest, that's me basically done with the game, isn't it?
So I can feel shit about that, or I can grab my Switch, play a bit of Zelda, which is basically like a very, one of the all-timers for me, like I say, but that has no requirement of you other than what you want from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my hope is that, and I hope nobody loses jobs, but my hope is that people realise, and Sony have been doing it, and people have been like taking the piss and going, oh, you keep making third-party games, but maybe this is a good thing for someone like an Xbox to go, there's a lot of these games getting shut down. Maybe we should lean back into that kind of, let's make a really good first, player one game. Anyway, Lego 2K Drive, probably a bit unfair to sort of put that all on them. It is a good game. It is a good game.
This Lego 2K Drive.
It's a good game. It's well made. It's really colourful and lovely. It handles well, if a bit light, and it's a fun game. I just think timing wise, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And on that note,
also, wait, before we leave that as well, it was called the Disney Racing Games Disney Speed Storm. So if you commented below that it wasn't called that, and now you look stupid because I've corrected it.
Yeah,
so if you put that comment down there, you look like an idiot. Because I sorted that shit out on the show.
I mean, they haven't, so you're just like a
but no, they might.
like
no, but after the fact. After the fact.
I mean, they haven't now.
Yeah, you weirdos.
Yeah, God, that's fine.
I
don't know. I just wanted to say.
It's time. Yeah, it's
Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okie dokie. So, first question this week is from William Richard Dickey Travis T. III, who says, it's more of a statement, actually, and it's quite a long one to strap in. It says, I'm growing concerned for Chris Hyde's health. First, he has a filthy, rotten case of the plops, which lasted for an entire week. Then he comes back and then vanishes again. Are we to take it he had a bottom full of dirt again? Is he some kind of diuretic camel or something? Is he a feral cat spraying the walls of his... I'm really trying. Is he a feral cat spraying the walls of his abode? If we cannot get updates on our favourite podcaster, what is the point in us being alive? Information, good sir, is a boon. So there's a lot to unpick there, and not just...
Before you do...
Right? No,
you're going to like this bit. I want to praise you.
Go on, then.
No, well, that's fair enough.
Oh, fuck you.
I just thought you did really well there, like really well, because I lost it halfway through.
Right, that was difficult.
No, I think it was the diuretic camel that got you. But until then,
Yeah.
you were absolutely stone-faced, and I was genuinely impressed.
Right, so Dickie raises a broader point that I do want to talk about.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Which is, there is fuck all support for me when I'm not here. And that's the problem here, because what he's moaning about, presume it's a he, I don't want to get into that, right? What they're moaning about is that they don't know what's going on with me, and they are fraught with worry because you two can't be bothered to find out the truth of what's going on in my life and reassure our listeners. Okay?
That first week you were off, I told them. I told them exactly what was going on. It was the diarrhea, and I was nice about it. And then Mick was with us, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I bet it's running down his leg." Mick was being filthy and horrible. I just wanted to defend you and your poorly bottom.
It's clearly not good enough because they're saying if we cannot get updates on our favourite podcaster, what is the point in us being alive?
I mean,
This
that
is a
was
matter
quite
of life
extreme of Dick.
Life and death, Lyle.
Did you like
I did
at least
just not mention it last
important.
week?
You can laugh, but
and
your kind of just dismissal of my well-being and why I'm not around on some weeks and not informing our listeners could have devastating impacts on real life people. And you guys need to reflect on that, because I can't influence it. I'm not on the podcast. I can't.
No, you're right. You're right. Next time you're not on the podcast, I will give very detailed.
I don't know if I can now.
Yeah.
Because what this is reading to me, if I don't turn up to the next podcast, people die. That's what this is reading like to me, because
Look,
you two can't be trusted to support people.
You've ruined this, if I'm honest. Did you at least enjoy the pun work on his surname?
Travesty. I didn't see travesty. I see travesty. I thought was, I don't know, some fucking No More Heroes wordplay.
No, I was
Dickey, I really liked.
Well, it was going to be on the nose, but Richard Head or Dick Travesty.
Well, I like the fact that it's essentially Willie Dickey. That
it's
I liked.
Willie Dick Dickey Travesty.
Yeah.
The third, by the way.
Yeah, the third. I didn't actually get the travesty bit. I've obviously got the Richard and Dick bit.
I thought that was a really good pun. I don't know if that's been. I genuinely thought, have I come up with a new? Sorry, as William's name come up with a.
Also, to Dickey, I will say, and me and Adam say this all the time. More people should say plops. More people should say plops. It's an underrated word.
I quite enjoyed Bottom Full of Dirt. If I'm honest with you, I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Richard, William.
But I guess the point is, people care about me,
and we will do better. We will do better.
And you need to keep them informed.
Yeah, we
right?
will. We
now,
feel quite guilty about it.
I don't particularly want to say why I wasn't here last week in the real world, but if you're going to at least make something up,
okay.
You
had the bottom dirt
because not saying anything is worse.
I'm glad I know that now, because I'll make sure in the future.
Yeah, embellish to fuck, because it will at least keep people alive.
You were last week. I know why you weren't here. It's because you were on stage awarding the Generally Good Bloke of the Week award from Nuts magazine.
To who?
No, you were receiving it.
Oh, you said I was awarding it. So I was
sorry.
You
were being sorry. You were being awarded the
award.
Generally Nice Bloke of the Week award from Nuts magazine. Yeah. Or Loaded, or whichever one of them still somehow manages to go.
It was presented by Peter Andre, though, just for anyone who was wondering.
Please, Pondre.
Pondre, yeah.
Pondre.
Right, let's do the proper questions.
What do you mean, proper questions?
I mean, that one wasn't much of a question. It was more of a statement.
That was more of a
existence.
I thought, what is the point of being alive is a pretty existential question.
Yeah.
Not that
we are not
related.
answering. Yeah. No, it's not gaming related, so we can't answer that. Sorry, Dickie.
Well, I would say, Dickie, before we move on, if you're having these thoughts, reach out to people. That's what I would say.
Well, you could send the same question, but to I'm sure Brian Cox has got a podcast, doesn't he? It seems more up his alley. Like, what is the point?
I would really not promote other podcasts on this podcast. There is only one podcast, and you are listening to it right now.
I'm just saying the name I've heard somewhere on the telly at some point. I don't know who it is.
Don't listen to it. Don't even check.
All right.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you want?
Don't you fucking do that shit. I don't care that I've been on that podcast. I don't care that I've been on 3 times.
I almost like and I haven't listened to it. I'm
That I
actually
believe.
I might walk off. Might walk off. Right,
Nah, come on,
Mick
come
sent
on.
in some questions. I don't really care anymore. You've kind of ruined this whole
No,
section.
come on,
But,
come on.
Adam, what are your plans
Yes.
for Street Fighter 6 post-launch? Will you be playing it regularly? Also, are you going to review any fight stick for it? Would love to know a good one for PC.
My plans to Street Fighter 6 post-launch are to play it.
Yes.
And genuinely
Kick
try.
my Ken ass with Ken.
Well, just try and get good at a couple of them, just like the old days, like the Street Fighter 4 days. So hopefully I'll be playing it regularly. I would really like to get that back. Am I going to review any fight sticks for it? Yes, I am. Would love to know a good one for PC. Can't promise it'll be a PC fight stick, but I will be reviewing fight stick.
Or that it will be good.
Possibly too. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to think they're good because there's not many people making them nowadays. So, like, hopefully I will have a couple of reviews up. Don't know whether it'll be before or after the game comes out, but yeah, definitely will be reviewing some fight sticks in the future. Near future, sorry.
Yeah. During your main playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom for review, did you leave something to come back to later when you had more time, or did you get everything done for your review? Did you get everything done? Yeah, all right.
Do you know, it's one of those where sounds like I call the shots, but you know what I mean, because I'm the person who assigns reviews, so we say. That sounds a bit less twattish. It's one of those I was not going to compromise on, and I would not expect anyone else to compromise on, and I would not expect anybody to play it in an unnatural way. I always think it's very important that where possible you play a game as you would play a game were you purchasing it, because otherwise who the fucking hell is the review for? What's the point? If you're just going to get a game and smash through it as quickly as you can, no one spending 70 quid on a game does that. Or I say 70 quid, unfortunately. $60, whatever you're paying for a game. Nobody, in theory, gets a game now and goes, well, I've got to get through this as quickly as possible. And especially with a game like that. So it was, I'll be honest with you, it's touch and go. It was so close that I ended up seeing credits in a way I would naturally have. Like I said before, I played 70 hours of this game. I feel.
I remember because I was speaking to you about it and I was like, mate, at some point you're going to have to do the story.
And I knew that, but I was like, No, I don't think I left anything deliberately. I mean, there is still things to do. I haven't been in every shrine. I've got like 15 side quests. I went to clear out a side quest after the review, just because I was still playing it for fun anyway, and I ended up finishing that side quest and unlocking another 3 side quests. So it's like I don't know where I saw that that thing about where people are saying it's something like 45 hours average to beat it and 90 something. I'm not having that at all. Sorry,
no.
I don't buy that, not at all.
No.
So
100% not.
I've got plenty of stuff to go back for, but nothing I intentionally thought I'm going to come back.
No, it's the stuff
I played it very naturally.
Yeah, just
it's to be clear, I would never ask anyone to review a game in a fashion I wouldn't be prepared to myself. And if I'm playing a game at a weekend, it's because I want to, not because I have to. I would never expect or force anyone to do that, because your free time is your free time. So I was certainly not going to compromise my own principles and try and rush through it.
I feel like this is a team meeting, Lyle, where we're discovering new policies.
Yeah, I don't fucking know that. Jesus.
Yeah. It's like, wow, okay.
I didn't say I was forthcoming with those policies. I just that I had them.
Secret policies.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, you have free time.
Secret well-being policies that haven't currently been published.
The only crunch I want at the weekend is a packet of crisps.
Or a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
What, like a Nestle Crunch?
Or crunchy.
Yeah.
Oh, crunchy. Good shout. Good shout. Carry on. What's the questions? I don't know where we're going.
Have you tried booting up Breath of the Wild after playing any of Tears of the Kingdom to see how things have changed?
No, and I don't want to. Like, Breath of the Wild exists in that moment for me, and this game has. It's one of those where you honestly go like, how could it be any better? I didn't go into Tears of the Kingdom expecting to say this is one of the best games of all time. There's always that suspicion because Nintendo has been pretty good with first-party stuff. Like, their exclusives have been, generally speaking, hit, not miss. What I would say is I did go into it thinking, how are they going to do that this time? How are they going to make me forget Breath of the Wild? And I think they did. Not forget, but they did achieve that. So I don't want to go back now because it seems like, no, there would be no point.
It's an exercise in sadness, maybe.
Yeah.
If anything.
No, I wouldn't. I'm with you. I wouldn't want to do it. I'm going to I'll mention the next question, but we have talked about
Well,
it.
the next two have kind of been. I've sort of already answered them, haven't I?
Yeah, so I'll just say them, but we don't really have to answer them. So he did ask about Lego 2K's monetization and Battle Pass.
Yeah, it's something I'm not like.
And then we went in on the whole industry about it. So like...
well, no. The reason being is I find it a bit confusing and a bit strange. Lego 2K drives monetization. It doesn't sit quite right with me, but it's also not, like I say, predatory. So it's.
I was going to say that I always feel like, is it predatory when it's designed for kids and it's got monetization? But it's not the only games who've done it, so I can't really.
And the other, if you can ask that last question because I've got an answer for it actually very quickly.
Is humanity amazing without VR as well? Well, I know the answer to this because I didn't play it in VR.
But this is the thing is that I want. While it is cool with VR, I actually think I will play it without VR because, generally speaking, VR has to be an experience that's tailor-made for VR to make it worthwhile sticking a great big helmet on your face and playing for hours on end with a helmet on your face. Jesus Christ, that's going to get taken wrong. Mm-hmm. So I would, yes, is the answer, and because I played most.
I think it is. Because I knew it was in VR. I just don't have VR, and I wasn't sitting there thinking.
Oh, it would be so much better.
This would be amazing in VR. This is. I feel like this game is designed to be played without and can also be played in VR rather than the other way around. Like it's designed for VR, but you can also play it without. So I wouldn't say not having VR in any way, shape, or form is a barrier to playing humanity. Still play it.
Yep. What Chris said. George, do your questions?
Turn. Yeah.
Bacon quiche or ham and egg sandwich. Wait, sorry, I'm going to have to reread that myself now. Bacon quiche or ham and egg sandwich for breakfast?
Okay, so, I mean, only one of these is getting eaten full stop, and that's the bacon quiche. So, yes, we've had this conversation, I'm sure, in a pod. I like quiche, I don't like eggs. So, I'm not having...
It's weird, we all agree.
Eggs don't... quiche doesn't taste of eggs. Ham and egg sandwich.
Just of eggs.
What's that?
Nothing. Carry on.
To carry on, mate.
It doesn't taste of eggs.
It tastes of eggs. Mate. It tastes so much of eggs.
It really tastes of egg.
Well, so maybe I like eggs then. But
so it's bacon quiche.
Bacon quiche by a fucking country mile. It'd be so sad if my ham had egg dripping on it.
Hey, Chris, speaking of food, do you know any food podcasts people could listen to or anything like that?
No.
Okay, cheers, mate.
I've got to work on my crescendo. No, I'm only joking. So, we have a Patreon-only podcast about food called Chopping Board that we've kind of started at the moment, and where every episode we take 3 foods and chop one of them out of existence.
It's gone.
And it's full of food-related puns, jokes, whiffy bants, and lots of anger and aggression about how passionate people are with food. So if you want to have that in your ears, then you can join our Patreon for just $1 a month, and you get access to that podcast, our Discord, and lots of other bits and bobs. So it's well worth the money. So come join us and enjoy that delight for the ears.
On that note, before I ask your questions quickly, David Ayres in the live chat says, I'm an hour behind, so hello, future me. Hello, past David, and hello current David.
David.
I don't know. Yeah. Chris, sorry. Have you tried an espresso / coffee and tonic?
No.
Right. No, I've heard of this.
So like coffee and tonic water to make like a fizzy coffee? Is that what you think he means?
Pretty much, yeah.
No, that sounds vile, but no. Okay. And
I
also don't know if I want to. But
no, I hate tonic water. Like, it is one of my... I find that the taste of tonic water is rank.
I don't really like sparkling water. I know tonic isn't just sparkling water, but I don't really like...
No, nor do I.
It just sounds a bit odd.
It just sounds a bit odd. Unless this is a thing and I'm missing something magical.
Yeah, I think it is a thing, but I don't know if it's
I'm taking something really nice and adding something shit to it, so it's going to be like borderline shit.
Yeah.
Have you finished the Xenoblade 3 DLC yet?
Have I cock? No, I haven't even started it because now I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, so it's going to be like flipping.
It's never happening this year.
November. I really want it's hard to explain because you must go look. You must ask this. Similar with the Xenoblade Chronicles, I really fucking enjoyed that game and I really want to play this, but I can't not play Tears of the Kingdom at the moment, and I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry, not sorry, because it's fucking brilliant. I really hope it doesn't end up being that one of those ones that never happens. Because I feel like how I felt when I saw the reveal and then what Mick has said about it, I feel like I'd love it. But
It's tough though, isn't it? There's a lot
And what's
to
coming
play,
up in the foreseeable as well
Yeah.
worries me greatly. That I'm going to have to tear myself away from Tears of the Kingdom to do all those things, and then there's just going to be a pile up, and my life's ruined. So,
wow.
There we go.
Okay.
There we have it.
Okay. What was the last microtransaction you bought?
it was the season 4 battle pass for Overwatch. That's the one now, isn't it? Or is it season 5? I get confused.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The one with Life Weaver, where you get Life Weaver.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5. I'm not sure now.
I think it's 4. I think it's
Pretty
4.
sure it's 4.
So the current battle pass season pass for Overwatch, because I got Life Weaver and I actually quite like the character. You know, I've been playing him. So yeah, that's the last time I parted with money for a microtransaction. Again, I didn't like doing it. Felt dirty, but I did it.
I can't imagine doing that. It must have been so long.
Yeah.
What's the best movie you have watched in the last few months?
It's one I watched 6 days ago. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and thought it was brilliant.
Mick's been raving about this to me as well.
It's one of the best Marvel films since Avengers. One of the best. I think it's up there with Marvel films, in terms of top 5 or whatever. It's so good. It's just, if you like the Guardians films as well, it's a really good film in that vibe. And I wasn't expecting it to be, because I have been a little bit more on the disappointed side of recent Marvel films. And this one was brilliant. Laughed a lot. Nearly cried a few times as well. It's proper. It's just and it's a really good film on its own as well. Go and see that film if you're a Marvel fan and a Guardians of the Galaxy fan. It's really good. So yeah. Is that the end of mine? Okie dokie. So Lyle, on to you then, mate. If you could only buy one 70-quid game out of the following, which would you pick between Final Fantasy 16, Diablo 4, or Starfield?
Okay. So I'm sure
pretty certain I know this answer quite easily, but carry on.
I think it's probably quite easily Final Fantasy 16
Yeah.
for me. Diablo 4 is tempting too, though. That is going to be very, very good.
Yeah.
Starfield's on Game Pass, guys. Just to let anyone know.
I was like, well, I'm definitely not paying 70 quid for Starfield, but yeah.
I mean, even if it wasn't, it would probably be bottom of that list for me personally, just because the other two are very, very exciting. But yeah, Final Fantasy 16. I was watching something on Crunchyroll today, and it had adverts before some subscription shit had been sorted, and they played 6 back-to-back adverts for Final Fantasy 16, and I'm really excited for Final Fantasy 16 now. So, I mean, it worked, but I was already excited. Didn't have to do that much, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he'd have looked like a right knob if he'd gone the wrong way with this. Now that Tears of the Kingdom is confirmed better than Breath of the Wild and new Pokemon Snap, what is one aspect of the game you don't like so far? Brilliant. Okay. Let's do this.
Okay. We talked about the very few ones that I had earlier, really. I talked about that, I found some of the construction-y shit a bit fiddly and stuff like that. So I'll give something different. I saved a couple. I didn't know this was coming, but I did save a couple. One of them is, I think sometimes for some of the side questy things or places you go to explore, the reward for doing so can be a bit weak. Sometimes when you do something and they're like, oh, here's your reward, it's a bomb flower, and you're like, I got 10 of them last time I was down in the depths. It doesn't feel like it's that big a reward, and it's not all the time. It's quite rare, in fact, that the rewards are a bit disappointing. But there are a few times where I've been like, I did that and I got something I didn't really want, and I was a bit like, oh, okay. I guess that's a negative. It's not a big negative. I still really, really like the game, but if I'm coming up with a new negative, that's the one, I guess.
Okie dokie. How this Tears of the Kingdom related still? Have you been reading up on stuff when you're stuck, or asking people, or have you been playing it on your own completely?
I've played it on my own completely. I've not really been stuck. Has anyone been stuck? I mean, maybe there's been moments where I've been like, oh, I'm not sure how I'll solve this, and then I'll be like, well, I've got about 10 ways that I can brute force it, even if I can't think of one. So
there was one bit in the whole of my time so far where I got genuinely stuck, and I was quite worried because it was important. I'd be interested if other people do.
Yeah,
all I'll say.
but yeah, I've not had that issue.
Yeah, I'm
currently.
interested because you messaged me saying that I might need to message you about the area that me and Lyle have done. I'm interested to know which bit I didn't need to message you on because I didn't get stuck.
It was the bit that we talked about earlier that you.
Oh,
checked,
the
yeah,
cockpit.
like
Okay,
that.
fine.
That was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bit that G-Town Steve, to out him, couldn't solve, and then solved in his own
Ah,
way.
what an idiot!
The noob. Okay. What game from June
I
are
got a
you
text
looking
from
forward?
him. I'm really hoping it isn't like I'm really not feeling great at the moment, lads. Just listening to you two. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I said I really hope it isn't. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Sorry. What was it?
What game from June are you looking forward to that you know no one else on the site will play? Freezer Pops 2.
If Freezer Pops 2 was out in June, that'd be a shout, wouldn't it? And no one else is going to
What could you use as a reference material?
I mean, I could
for this question?
use, and I usually check the questions that Mick sent in beforehand on the doc, but I didn't this time. So, but if I had, I would have used the handy list on codisageek.com of upcoming releases, and I would have found one that fit the criteria, but I didn't. So I don't know. There'll be something. Won't there?
It's Etri and Odyssey, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Because I would play We Love Katamari Reroll, definitely, because they're great.
Yeah.
I would play
Yeah.
Goodbye Volcano High. Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, is that out in June? Master Detective Archives, Rain Code,
I'm
that's
quite
June,
excited
isn't
for
it?
that. Will
Yeah,
anyone else
won't
play
touch
that?
No, not a
Oh,
chance.
cool. Oh, that's the one.
It would be
go.
one of those ones. If Adam went, here's a code, I'd play it. But like, it wouldn't be when I'm like, I need that. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those ones.
Yeah.
Like, if I was doing the Sherlock biz to it, then I'd enjoy it, I'm sure. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking through the release list. I think that's a good shout. I think that's probably that's definitely the one. There's nothing else on there that no one else would like anyway or want to play.
Very specific question coming up next. What game did you play this year on Steam Deck where you thought, damn, I wish it was on an OLED Switch with these colours?
I don't know.
That
What
sounds
did I
like
play with?
exactly the sentence
Fire
you'd
Emblem,
say.
I would have thought, surely, or Bayonetta.
Okay. One of those, I reckon. But was it that not that?
No, it's the
I
other way
played on
round.
Steam
It's a
Deck?
Steam
Yeah.
Deck.
Oh,
game.
sorry, Steam Deck. I misread that. I just saw the Switch bit. Oh, God.
I mean, I've never used a Switch OLED, so I definitely have never thought, "Damn the colours," because I don't know what they're like. I've never seen one in person.
I don't colours are like.
I don't know colours. I'm not colorblind, but I could have been, and then that would have been a right shitter to his answer, wouldn't it? No, I don't.
No.
I've not thought that because I've never used. I can't recall.
You've never
using,
gone, damn!
I've not gone, damn, like that.
Okie dokie. Jesus Christ. I forgot this when I put this in. Lyle Squared, motherfuckers, aka David Ayres from the Past Last Future, says Nicolas Cage in Dead by Daylight. Discuss.
I don't. Lyle, can you? Or not?
Yeah, I think they've. I don't know how much can I say.
That's what I mean. I think maybe for safety, because I'm not sure. Because this was supposed to be announced later.
It was,
and then it just suddenly was announced, and I got an email. I was like, "Wait, what?" So I don't know the state of what.
So the answer to your question is David? No.
Confused. No, the answer is discuss.
No, we won't.
We can't. We're confused.
Yeah, we are. We're too confused about it. But
just for safety, maybe we can answer it next week if we do some check and find out what's going on there.
It's something to do with Dead by Daylight. I've heard. That's.
I mean, I can talk about it because I don't know.
Favorite actor.
Yeah. He's good.
It's pretty much what you'd expect. They do a lot of crossovers.
Yeah.
And he's in this like a horror comedy right now, isn't he? The Dracula one that
Oh yeah, that looks quite good.
He does actually look quite. I wasn't sure when I first saw it. I was like, "Oh wow, that looks really horror film." And then I saw a bit more of the clip, and it's like, "Oh no, it's a comedy." It looks interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
McPoo has got a few questions. His first one was, which of the following has the best chance of dethroning Tears of the Kingdom as Game of the Year? Final Fantasy 16, Diablo 4, Starfield, Spider-Man 2, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
He likes his asymmetric horror games like me, so I think he's put that in there more for himself than anyone else.
I mean, I have an answer, but I don't say anything that's true, but I think...
Well, the best chance, he's asking.
The best chance.
Not what do you think will.
Yeah.
Go on, then.
I genuinely think the game on that list that has the best chance is Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
I
Yeah.
think Diablo 4, because I'm thinking of it
if
has
I could
to be a
have two
game the
answers.
5 of us come up with. And I know that Mick is more into that. Well, mind you, he loves a JRPG. I think Final Fantasy 16.
And this is the thing. I think for all 5 of us, I think Final Fantasy 16 has a better chance than Diablo 4 does.
No, I think that's the answer I'd go with too.
But I do think both of those. I mean, although I don't necessarily think the chance is particularly high necessarily, I do think both of those are like kind of contenders. Like if they full on knock it out the park, and with the other people on the podcast, it could happen, right?
And also, let's be really clear. If it is a serious discussion at the end of the year, what a fucking year it will have been.
What a game
and
that
what
will
those
be.
games will be like. That would be amazing. I'd actually love that, because then it would be like, holy Christ, like what you know what I mean? Like it would be like, so I hope it very much is. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16. Thoughts on the Overwatch 2 PvE plan changes? And by changes, he means removal / decimation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go, because like if I'm honest, right, like I wasn't like Overwatch 2 at launch, as we know, and I came in later. So I didn't go into Overwatch 2 because of how Overwatch 2 was changing versus Overwatch 1 and all that sort of stuff, which I know probably more you, Adam. So I'm like, I wasn't bothered. I play this game as a PvP group experience for us. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't like turn my nose up at it. I'd be interested in it and the stuff that I was, but I kind of like am more interested in it now because I heard it was a thing now and that's been removed than waiting for it now. So I think I'm probably different to a lot of other people who are going, well, the only reason we had Overwatch 2 was because, you know, you wanted to take out a tank and give us this PvE thing. So now what you've done is just taken out of a tank. What are you doing, kind of thing. So I'm less bothered. I can understand why a lot of people are annoyed, though, because this was pitched as the big reason for Overwatch 2, no?
Kinda.
At least a big reason, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a larger... I think it sort of points to a larger issue with Blizzard as a whole at the moment, really. Because like I feel like Overwatch 2 is one of these things where, well, Overwatch, generally speaking, is one of these things which should actually be bigger than it is. Like they got the characters and the lore, they've done that. They've got that the basics down where people are interested in the characters and they know their characters. And I feel like it should actually be like a what do they call it? Is it transmedia, where it goes beyond just being games? I feel like this is one of those things where it should. It's always like, hang on, it doesn't have an anime or a movie or a TV show or a Netflix thing? Like how, for example, and I love Cuphead, but how did Cuphead get a Netflix series, but Overwatch hasn't? Like, how did Castlevania, which has not had a new game, Monster Hunter, get a movie?
Yeah.
Because it's weird. And I feel like that PvE could have led to that, because it would have to be more lore-based and more fleshing out of characters because of the nature of what it was. It was supposedly going to have a story mode, you know, to all intents and purposes. And now it hasn't, and it isn't going to get that traditional sense of it. I just think it speaks a little bit like, you know, the fact that, and they know, because they also then put out like that big roadmap, didn't they? And like said, oh, there's going to be another support character and another tank. And it's like, it's great. And I'm glad they're supporting it. And I still love the game playing it. But like, it does, you can't help but go, then what was the point of all of that? Why didn't you just keep it as Overwatch and just make your changes or make a different mode? Or I think it speaks more to where Blizzard's at the moment. There were big changes at Blizzard, especially the Overwatch development team, just like in the process of this game being made. And I just think it's a bit of a, I don't know. I feel a bit strange about it. I don't know really. I don't know what's going on, but I just feel a bit odd. Yeah.
I mean, like I say, I'm less attached to what was supposed to be coming, and I hope it doesn't signal beginning of the end of things. I don't think it will. I think that's what they're trying to really show with the roadmap. Because I like this game. It's very much my dip in and out. You know,
it's just disappointing to me that a studio as storied and as big as Blizzard doesn't have the capability of supporting a live game whilst developing future content and I know they're not on the scale in terms of financially as Call of Duty these days, where they've got probably a developer that does single player, multiplayer, you know what I mean? But it's a little disappointing that a developer as historied as Blizzard aren't able to deliver on something they said they do.
Mm.
I haven't read the full interview, so I may be missing some of the context, but it's just a bit disappointing to me. Like I would have, you remember when it was it was big news that it wouldn't be there when Overwatch 2 launched, but they're like, no, it won't, but it'll probably be next year. Well, it's nearly June, and now they're saying actually it isn't coming at all. Just a bit disappointing, I think. Yeah.
Anything from you, Lyle, or just like, I agree?
What you said all seems fine. I probably wouldn't have played it anyway because I'm busy playing all the other shit. But sounds like some people were excited and they said it was coming and it's not. So that's not great, is it? That's it. That's my thoughts.
Okay, and then last question from McPoo: dipping chips into your milkshake, yay or nay?
I've never done it, and I've seen people do it, and I've been like, that's a thing that people do, but I've never even been tempted to bother trying it, because I'm just sort of like, why would I bother trying it? I already quite like having those two things, and I'm all for experimenting with like food shit and having weird things, but like, I don't know, I just feels like a bit of one where it's like, what's the point? It's gonna make my chips gonna be less soggy, well, more soggy, less crisp. It's kind of part of the point of that being good, right?
Yeah, I have never done it, and I've seen people do it, and I kind of can get the whole like salty sweet
totally.
vibe. I can understand it. I have never thought I want to do it for those reasons. I'm just like, I like chips as chips, and I like milkshake as milkshake. I don't mix, and I will say it worries me when my daughter dips her toast in her milk. I'm like, oh god, she's gonna be one of them.
She's gonna be one of them.
She's gonna be one of them.
That's the first sign. Yeah. Toasting milk leads to chips in milkshake.
So I don't know. I mean, Adam's being very silent. I don't know if he's still angry about Overwatch or he just likes chips a lot.
Okay, right. I've done it. I still don't understand why people do it. I think it's one of those bullshit internet things that people do for clout when they don't actually really like it, but they do it to look like they're weird and interesting. It's bullshit. Why would you? It's totally unnecessary. And I've done it. I've done it, and it's nothing. It's just nothing. It's just like, it just tastes like a milkshake covered chip.
Yeah.
Like, this is totally pointless. Now I had two good things, and now I've made one thing that's not as good as either of the things on their own.
Exactly. That's how I feel it would be. So I'm like, I feel like I'd try it and go, brilliant. It's like those people. It's like the people who get their McDonald's. Or other burgers are available, and they do that thing where they get their drink and they open the burger up in the box. And then they put the straw through the middle and the fries on the side, so you can do it with one hand. So you can. Have you seen this? Nobody does it. Yeah. Not really. It's a TikTok or shorts thing that people are like, hey, this hack's amazing. Don't know why I did American. Shouldn't have. Sorry. Damn.
But it's one of those things where they've got. Have you seen it though? Have you seen it where they get the milkshake?
I know what you mean.
And they open the burger box up, and that creates a gap between the folds, flaps. And they push the thing down there, so your burger's here. Pull your chips into the other side, and you can now walk around and go. Well, also then, nobody does it. It's just I don't think anybody actually genuinely goes, oh, I can't wait to get my chips dipped.
If someone was walking around like that, I'd smack it out their hand.
But then you'd be wrong.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
No, it'd be fine.
Shall I?
I might try it next time. Next time I get.
I'll say now. To everyone listening, I will never do it.
Okay. I'll do it for the science. I'll be the one who... So we've got one person who has done it and thinks it's shit. We've got one person who'll never do it. And then I'll be the person who hasn't done it yet, who'll try it, report back, and probably agree with Adam that it was pointless.
It's just that's exactly it. Can I press the button, Christopher?
Play the jingle. Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. Time. Chris Hyde.
Well, that is the end of episode 521 of the God is Geek podcast. Thank you to Chris and Lyle for being here, of course, as usual. Glad everyone's friendly after the Zelda chat. That could have gone so badly wrong. Do remind people, though, to go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, where you can support us by £1 or $1 a month, or whatever you want to drop, really, to get into our exclusive listener Discord, where you can also get the exclusive The Chopping Board podcast, of which 2 episodes have been done, and the third one will be available soon. Well, week or so, 10 days-ish from now, as we record. There is loads of stuff going on there. Lovely Tears of the Kingdom channel at the moment where people are sharing their stories. It's great fun. Do follow us on all the social medias. Do rate and review the podcast. And if you do watch us every week, whether it's live or afterwards, give us a thumbs up. Tell us what you want us to talk about or drop a question in. Maybe you could make up a listener like William Ritchie Dickey Travesty III, because it's getting harder for someone to keep coming up with those each week. Thank you again to Lyle and Chris and to everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.